I'm Leah Kearns, the founder here of WEBeing, a co-learning platform specifically designed to upskill you in your professional and personal development. And today I am being interviewed by the fantastic Suzanne Culberg, who's one of our creators here at WEBeing. So I'm going to pass it over to her and she can take the reins. Suzanne, over to you.
Thank you, Leah. I'm so excited for this. So I'd love to know a bit about the latest piece of your body of work that's coming forward.
Yeah, so what I've decided to go with this time with the launch of this round of wave of modules is something that I call design your business to fit your life. Now, what I mean by this is it's the macro business model. So let's think about it for a minute. What basically has led me to this and have this coming forward in this way is because what I realized is that there's all these people out there, especially women in business, who are trying to wear all the hats, do all the things, and they're all trying to follow a formula or a method that is this 1, 2, 3, 4 step times by a billion, depending on which coach or what method or formula you're working into, instead of looking at the other way around, which is the lifestyle and what they're trying to make in terms of money, connections, friendships. These are more wider aspects of the way of looking at things. They're looking at it the wrong way round. So I myself was in this same boat up until probably about 2 years ago. And then I started to realize that the whole reason for me being in business, especially at this point in my life where I was getting ready to I was just pregnant and started to look at, well, what can I do to restructure the business that I have created and lovingly spent all this time and effort and money on, but wasn't quite seeing the return in the right way for me. So going forward, I really wanted to look at, well, how can I structure my time, my money and effort more synchronistically for me and being able to still help and have the same sort of larger scale impact that I was actually wanting to have. So this was kind of born out of that. This has been my practice, at least for the last 2 years, and in smaller sections before that. And now we've kind of arrived at this point where all this piece is being consolidated together in all my learnings of what I found. And it's the stuff that we're translating through WEBeing and my other company of SkyCo. And so it felt like the right time for this to be assembled kind of in this way and for me to share this with people. So if they're looking to have a lifestyle first business, that they actually are able to create it and design it in a way that suits them personally.
I love it. And I love the piece I want to draw out from what you've just said, like the biggest standout for me is the lifestyle part, because at the beginning when you're talking about these ABC 1, 2, 3 or 360 step models that people follow, it seems to be all about money above everything else, like dollars, dollars, dollars. And I know myself, I've seen so many people who have gotten there, like who've reached that, but then their life feels empty, like they're snapping at their kids or they don't even have any connection with their partner or friends. What these friends you speak of? So I really like you to talk a bit more to the lifestyle part of this course, because I'm interested.
Yeah, so a lot of people especially in online business, will talk about a lifestyle business model, right? And it really is the kind of picture that's painted with that is the jet setting lifestyle where you're flying and you're being location independent, financially free, mixing with different crowds of people and being able to do whatever you want to do, and even champagne on a lemonade budget kind of experience, right? And yep. I kind of look at that and part of me just thinks bullshit. Like how much and how hard and whatever did you have to work to put into that to be able to have that, right? And a lot of times that whole lifestyle business model in that sort of landscape, it actually requires so much content generation and so much commitment to creating things that people are looking at, like they call it the Google toothbrush, right? So the Google toothbrush test is like if someone uses it twice a day, then they put it in and add it as a feature, right? So twice a day you brush your teeth, right? So that's Google's measure for something to put their time and money and their energy into, because they're like, if someone's willing to use it twice a day or use that approach or whatever, then you're going to have enough volume to get lift off, right? So I look at that and I go, but I don't want to be on social media 24/7. I don't want to be there feeling like I have to turn up and share all these aspects of myself. You know, I'm an introvert at heart. I don't, you know, even before the whole global situation at the moment, and at time of recording, this is October 2020, so we're well amongst it. But what I found before was that I didn't really want to leave my house to go and network with a bunch of people and like spend time in things where I'm highly empathic. So I would go into a room full of people, and whatever emotions were there, I'd leave and have to go have a rest for 2 days, because, and I would mean literally rest, like clock out of life, and probably have a headache or have something else, because it was hard for me to actually regulate my nervous system until I learned how to do it the way that was best for me. It was hard for me to be in those spaces with people and hear about these stories of how hard it was for them in business, or, you know, the troubles and the times that they were facing, or the issues they were having in their relationship because their partner wasn't on board with their business, because they're eating into the family budget, or, you know, these scenarios and these situations that are so common in those spaces that we go into when we go into situations like that. So I don't know. I just got to this point of going, there needs to be a better way to be in this for me. And part of that is actually to look at, well, what can we create? You know, we hear often too all about this, one of us rises, we all rise together. Well, that model doesn't quite translate in either more of, and, you know, I'm not sliding MLM here, but the structure of what some of those things are structured in. They're beautiful for learning business skills, gaining direction, gaining confidence. But at some certain point, there is pressure in a lot of them, in many of them, I'm not saying in all, of you having to either build a team, bring more people in behind you, or really having that, you know, one of us rises, we all rise together. But generally, there's somebody sitting at the top of that pile. Generally, there's somebody who is benefiting more than what you are benefiting. So look, in my world and in everything that I'm creating, it's all about this centrifuge, right? There's not a hierarchy. There's not this one person at the top benefits. And I just really want to be able to take that forward, where as I rise, we all really do rise. Like, it's all beneficial for everybody involved. And because of the way that I try and offer it to people to have an understanding of it, you know, there's multiple currencies involved in that. And I'm not just talking about money or some other barter exchange kind of system. I'm actually talking about frequency with that. I'm talking about energy. I'm talking about, you know, seeing time and effort as equal as money, but being actually able to understand how to exchange the value in that, and also track how much of that you're actually investing. And then likewise understand for the reciprocity side of things, how that can actually benefit you and what it looks like when it's inside of a time container, as opposed to not in time space, like outside of time space, and then how rapidly it can come back to you. So that's kind of some of the stuff that we get into exploring.
That's awesome. I just want to reflect some stuff back, because you've raised heaps of excellent points. One of the things you said was about, you know, you didn't want to be, a lot of the businesses are about content generation and being on social media 24/7, and like going to the events like in person. I get it. I'm also an empathic introvert, and it is exhausting, and it is days like to recover from that. And some personality types, they thrive, they honestly thrive on that. And some of us don't. So, you know, being able to appreciate meeting everybody where they're at. And the other thing you brought up is, you know, how hard it truly is eating into the family budget, your partner not on board, time away from your kids. None of this is talked about. Like the public face of the business, almost for some of them, feels like the Wizard of Oz. Like, it looks amazing, but the poor woman's behind the curtain with the, you know, yeah. So, and as you said with MLM, so it's not intentional for some of them. For some of them, I'm sure it is. That then they do try and have this, as I rise, we rise. But, you know, the model of reciprocity that you're bringing in, and I just want to pause on that term, because I'm sure some of the people listening don't really know what that means. So can you like define reciprocity for us?
Yeah, so there's actually at least 3 different types of reciprocity, and we do go much more into this in detail in the module. But to touch on it briefly, there's like a reciprocity where it's all about this this generalized reciprocity. So if you're out for a coffee with a friend, you buy them one, and at some time in the future you expect that they will also buy you one in turn, right? So that's this generalized reciprocity without the expectation of this immediate return, right? Then we've got balanced reciprocity. So this is where there's like an explicit expectation of immediate return, right? And I'm going to come back to that one in a minute, because the third one really is around negative reciprocity. And negative reciprocity is actually where someone is attempting to get something that you may not want to give up, and therefore you feel like it's an unfair exchange, or that you've been kind of backed into a corner or been taken advantage of, right? And that's negative reciprocity.
Can I
right?
make a possible example of that one? Is that when people slide into your DMs with an opportunity and then charge you $1,000 for it? Is that the one?
Right. Well, it's only when the real value of the $1,000 isn't there. Like if they slide into your DMs and you genuinely get $1,000 worth of time, money, or energy in that exchange, guess what? That's a fair and equal exchange in reciprocity. But if you don't, yeah, there's negativity attached to that. And, you know, it's that sense where there's trickery, coercion, hard bargaining, being taken advantage of, or, you know, just really having this sense that as an overgiver, you've given more than what you're actually getting in return. And
yes.
I mean, that's one we can all really relate to if you have been in business for a little while, that sense of even being told that that is the right formula to be in business with, right? Give a free session, then book a client off the back of that, and then book them into your signature package or program that's like 10, 15 grand. You know what? That doesn't work for everybody, because that's not necessarily what they're trying to get out of their lifestyle. They're not necessarily trying to get that long-term commitment with clients for that deep level of immersion and the space that needs to be held for that. Because some people may not have it in their toolkit to support people at such a deep level. And some people may not have the time or the space because they've got commitments to small children, or some other structure in their life doesn't actually fit around that, right? So that's where that negative reciprocity really kicks in. So I want to come back to the balanced reciprocity though, right?
Yep.
Because that's the explicit and immediate return, right? And you and I have talked about this a lot. When people come to, say, networking functions, it's almost as though they come with this expectation of this explicit and immediate return, right? I turned up here, so I get this action. And I think that our current society is very much geared towards that, right? You can see even when you buy Christmas presents, I know that our family is getting away from this now, but once upon a time, it was about, I bought you a present of XYZ amount. So in turn, I have this expectation and anticipating that you are spending this amount on me, right? Whereas when we start to look at all different love languages, guess what? We all value different things in that. I might value actually spending time all together at Christmas, not the gift. But I can appreciate that some people might value the gift. So therefore, how can I make the meaning and the value of the gift worth what that person is anticipating? And it might be the amount of time and effort and level of consciousness I brought to actually selecting the right gift that matches for that person, right? Rather than just grabbing the first random $100 thing that I saw because I know that they've spent $100 on me. It might be something that I've particularly tuned into and chosen for that person, right? So that's where that balanced reciprocity comes in. So when we talk about reciprocity, it really is about having the opportunity to create it where it is feeling fair and in value of the exchange, but also investing in that more what we call generalized reciprocity, which is that gift of giving without immediate expectation of return, But knowing that in the future, that's what we're investing in. We're investing in actually the relationship with that person. We're investing in the ecosystem of where we're investing our time and our energy and sometimes our money, right? As a contributor, we credit, then we debit, right? In the
Yes.
future, that debit is going to come back around, that opportunity, right? But initially, there's an investment. And again, likewise with ourselves, right? When we're backing ourselves in business, in life, in a relationship, you think about if you first met your partner, right? You're investing in something that you hope goes somewhere. And we all been there. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it doesn't work out. And what do you do then? Do you stop yourself from being able to have love? Well, yeah, there's a choice there. You could do that. Or do you actually then become more discerning about where you're investing your time and energy and who you're investing it with? Right?
Yeah.
This is reciprocity in action.
And I think that this is where the real distinguishing part comes from the MLM, which tends to be the pyramids are illegal, but like bring in two friends behind you, because that's more the negative one. Trickery is in like, I need to keep my numbers to keep in this business. Like I know I worked for one before. If I didn't have so many sales a month, I basically wasn't a distributor anymore. And
Right.
there was this pressure. Whereas if it's this more generalized one or balanced one, where it's like, and then also when you talk about value exchange, not just being money or number of people, but time, effort, like it's I can see this like big model coming out, and I think this sounds really, really amazing. So what inspired you to put it together in this way?
Well, for me, it was having walked the practice of it, because what I started to see was that time and time again, the women that were coming into either my private mentoring practice or working with us as creators in WEBeing, or even just as members in our community, they were all coming up with a few different problems, key problems, and they were mostly revolving around time and effort and zero return, right? And so the fact that there was zero return, that's where I started to look, because I thought if I could make that more efficient, where they could then spend less time and energy and get a return as opposed to zero return or next to zero return, then what is it that I could actually help them with? What challenge could I actually solve for them there that would then enable them? Is it tools that they need? Is it knowledge? Is it an understanding? Is it actual physicality of resource? Do they need more energy? Well, how can I give them energy? It's to look at the currencies, because that's where energy comes from. It comes out of currencies. It comes out of what's actually exchanged. And so when I started to look at it from that perspective, it was like love, time, money, effort, stories, knowledge, faith, trust, connection, right? There are a bunch of different currencies, and there are more, but these are the currencies then that make up wealth. And so the women that I know, they want to be wealthy for themselves and for their families, right? They want to be able to contribute something back to the family, even if that's a small amount, even if that gets the family a holiday together once a year, and pays for what is effectively a self-development vehicle for themselves as women, themselves as individuals, themselves as a female enterprise, and the business and the knowledge and the skills, so that they don't lose what they had when they were in corporate, or when they were working in their previous lives, or when they were studying in academic settings. There is that sense of that continues their well-being. And when a woman is showing up as a well-being, the world changes, the family changes, the community changes. Everybody who's in connection with that woman, life changes. So for me, being able to create something that actually truly offers this opportunity for someone to come to this as an individual and understand simply what the options are for them, and then feel that they can take full self-responsibility in that, to pick and to choose, and to keep choosing for themselves, and to keep trusting and backing themselves, even when it seems like nothing is showing up.
Oh, that gave me goosebumps. That, especially that last part. And I think that the biggest points that I just want to pull out of what you just said is the connection. Because for many of us, if we've come from corporate or we've come from employment into self-employment, into entrepreneurship, whatever we want to call it, that connection can be lost because we're now going solo. You know what I mean? And then even, and I love the model that you're building, and being a member of your community and a fellow creator, we're all supported at the place that we're at, and how that return, because you talk about zero return, in the very masculine or the very traditional way that we're taught, that return is dollars and dollars only. And it can take a while to get to the break even and then beyond point. But and if we're not making it, like, we feel like we're the person, and I know we've talked about before, but the emperor's new clothes, everybody else looks like they're successful and they're rolling in it and they've got their selfies on Insta, and we're having a hard time. We don't have that connection. So I think that's something that you really are bringing forward with this. And then the contribution part, because when we were corporate or before we had children, we were bringing home the bacon, our families, holidays and stuff. But then when we transition out and we have that period where we're not, but we don't want to speak up because everybody else looks like they are. It's the unspoken thing. Yeah, I love this.
But then also in that corporate aspect, or even if you were in some other kind of workplace, you were still contributing, right? You were, in old terms, staying around the cooler, having conversations that really were making a difference in people's lives. Like, I can understand them where that gets translated into a Facebook Live these days, right? If you're working by yourself, or even if you're within a small ecosystem, that's where that expression of social media can come out and be generated from, where it can be effective. But every day in the workplace, those opportunities look different, right? They might have been a 2-second conversation over here, or a 10-minute chat over there, or a half-hour meeting about something else, right? So those opportunities used to come in all different sizes for us who were used to those kind of environments, right? But we were also contributing that there. And that's why I often talk about, we need light to stay in corporate. We need, if people are being called out of corporate and yet they still have these real life tangible responsibilities, I believe the opportunity is to hold your light and go back into corporate and deal and face with your personal responsibilities, right? If that life is for you. And if not, guess what? Choose to make the lifestyle choices that then you can design your business to fit around that. Because even as a founder, the norm for in founder world is to work and hustle hard 80+ hour weeks. Guess what? I used to do that in corporate. Guess what? That led to burnout 3 times in 3 years for me. I know that doesn't work for me. So for me to do that as a founder here, and the amount of people who've told me, well, you're an entrepreneur, you class yourself as an entrepreneur, and as a founder, you need to wake up and hustle hard. And I'm like, if my son hasn't slept overnight, guess what? I'm not waking up and hustling hard. And even before that, when I was Leah, being the solopreneur, I still wouldn't do it because I know it's not congruent for me. So really coming back to how do I want my lifestyle to look, and then tailoring the business around that instead of trying to follow a coach formula or a 15-factor way to work up to $1 million 7-figure business. That's a great one in our industry. But it is really about
it is 7 is the new 6. How long until it's 8?
Right. I can't wait for that, actually, because that's going to make it a whole new level of understanding what you really want. Because how can you compare yourself to something like that if genuinely your macro vision for yourself and your family is not $15 million? Like, don't follow the $15 million business plan then. Do you know what I mean? Don't follow that structure. Don't follow that model.
And if it feels gross while you're doing it, it's going to feel gross when you get there. I think for so many times we put ourselves in a box and go, I don't want to do this, but I need to do this to be successful. When I get successful, then I'll go back. But the way that you've done it, the audience you've built, the people that are aligned to that, and then if you suddenly become you, do you know what I mean? It's like, we're a mismatch. So I think that this lifestyle, as you said, and the macro and what you want to be is going to attract the people that are meant for you.
For sure. And so, look, in this module, I really do go into what are seen as spiritual terms. But as with all my work, I try to put them into something that's really tangible, really practicable, and give you an experience of what it is to actually shift, right? Shift while you're being in the work, while you're learning, and not putting that off until you get to the end of the learning and then have to go and implement something, because that ain't going to happen. That's why we've designed the courses in this way, because you're getting the work done as you're working through the modules. And if you get stuck, then you just write a little question and tag me up. Or if you're working through one of the other creators modules, same deal, right? But we're there for you in this, because we know that the work is such a huge shift. It is such a massive jump. And some of the terms and things that I write about and the way that I present the work, it is talking about metaphysics. It is talking about quantum leaps. It is talking about no time space. It is talking about relativity and theories and, you know, physics-based work in the metaphysical, so in the unseen world. There's questions, there's things that come up where you feel like you're in over your head. But that's why it's in the co-learning environment that it is in, so that you can feel, as you're making your way through and finding your own discoveries for yourself, that you're not alone in work. We're there for you. I'm there for you.
I'll attest to that, being a member of a couple of your courses. If I don't understand something, I do post it, tag you in it, and then you come back, and a couple of times I've created other resources based on that. So it really is this continuous learning. We could talk for ages. I'm just looking at the time, so we probably should wrap it up here. But if anyone's got any questions, please feel free to pop them in the comments, and I'm sure Leah will come back and answer them. But thank you so much. I'm really excited about this this latest round of modules that are coming forward.
Thank you so much for doing the interview with me. I really appreciate it. And we cannot wait. We are so excited to present this work in the way with you all. And I'm Leah Kearns. I'm the founder here at WEBeing, and we are a particularly lovely co-learning platform that you can go ahead and develop your professional strengths, your personal skills in a way that suits you as an individual. And if you are interested in this course, there's links around here somewhere. So go ahead and check it out and let me know if you've got any questions. And we look forward to connecting with you again soon. Thanks.
Bye.